Wanderer of the Wasteland by Zane Grey, Chapter 22, Part 2. All at once a slim, rough little hand slipped into his. Instinctively, Adam closed his own great hand over it. That touch gave him such a thrill as he had never before felt in all his life. It seemed to link his strength and this child's trust. The rough little fingers and calloused little palm might have belonged to a hard-laboring boy, but the touch was feminine. Adam, desert-trained by years that had dominated even the habits ingrained in his youth, and answering mostly to instinct, received here an unintelligible shock that stirred to the touch of a trusting hand, but was nothing physical. His body, his mind, his soul seemed but an exhaustive instrument of creation over which the desert played masterfully. "It was lucky you happened along," said the girl. "Yes," replied Adam, as if startled. "They were bad men, and oh, I was so glad to see them at first. It's so lonely. No one ever comes except the Indians, and they come to beg things to eat, never to give. I thought those white men were prospectors and would give me a little flour or coffee or something Mother would like. We've had so little to eat." "That's so. Well, I have a full pack," replied Adam. "Plenty of flour, coffee, sugar, bacon, canned milk, dried fruit." "And you'll give us some?" she asked eagerly. "All you need." "Oh, you're a good as those men were bad," she exclaimed with a throb of joy. "Mother has just starved herself for me. You see, the Indian who packed supplies to us hasn't come for a long time. Nobody has come except those bad men, and our food gave out little by little. Mother starved herself for me. Oh, I couldn't make her eat. She'd say she didn't want what I'd cook, then I'd have to eat it." "Isn't your mother able to get about?" asked Adam, turning to peer down into the dark little face. "Oh, no, she's dying of consumption," was the low, sad reply. "And your father?" asked Adam a little huskily. "He died 2 years ago. I guess it's 2, for the peak has been white twice." "Died here in the desert?" "Yes, we buried him by the running water where he loved to sit." "Tell me, how did your parents and you come to be here?" "They both had consumption long before I was born," replied the girl. "Father had it, but Mother didn't when they were married. That was back in Iowa. Mother caught it from him, and they both were going to die. They had tried every way to get well, but the doctors said they couldn't. So Father and Mother started west in a prairie schooner. I was born in it, somewhere in Kansas. They tried place after place trying to find a climate that would cure them. I remember as far back as Arizona, but Father never improved till we got to this valley. Here he was getting strong again. Then my uncle came and he found gold over the mountains. That made Father mad to get rich to have gold for me. He worked too hard and then he died. Mother has been slowly failing ever since." "It's a sad story, little girl," replied Adam. "The desert is full of sad stories, but your uncle, what became of him?" "He went off prospecting for gold, but he came back several times, and the last was just before Father died. Then he said he would come back again for me someday and take me out of the desert. Mother lives on that hope, but I don't want him to come. All I pray is for Mother to get well. I would never leave her." "So you've lived all your life on the desert?" "Yes. Mother says I never slept under a real roof." "And how old are you?" "Nearly 14. "So old as that? Well, I thought you were younger. And little girl, may I ask how you learned to talk so as if you had been to school?" "My mother was a school teacher. She taught me." "What's your name?" "It's Eugenie Linwood. But I don't like Eugenie. Father and Mother always called me Jeanie." "What's your name?" "Mine is Wansfell." "You're the biggest man I ever saw. I thought the Yuma Indians were giants, but you're bigger. My poor father was not big or strong." Presently Adam saw the dark gray forms of his burros along the trail. Ginny appeared to be more contrary than usual and kicked spitefully at Adam as he untied her. And as Adam drove her ahead with the other burro, she often lagged to take a nip at the sage. During the several miles farther down the trail, Adam was hard put to it to keep her going steadily. The girl began to tire, a circumstance which Adam had expected. She refused to be assisted or to be put on one of the burros. The trail began to circle round the black bulge of the mountain and finally running into the shadow where objects were hard to see. The murmur of flowing water soon reached Adam's ears, most welcome and beautiful sound to desert man. And then big cottonwoods loomed up, and beyond them the gleam of starlight on stately palm trees. Adam, peering low down through the shadows, distinguished a thatched roofed hut. "We'll not tell Mother about the bad man," whispered the girl. "It'll only scare her." "All right, Jeannie," said Adam, and he permitted himself to be led to a door of the hut. Dark as pitch was it inside. "Mother, are you awake?" called Jeannie. "Oh, child, where have you been?" rejoined a voice faint and weak with a note of relief. "I woke up in the dark. I called you, didn't come." Then followed a cough that had a shuddering significance for Adam. "Mother, I'm sorry. I met a man on the trail, a Mr. Wansfell. We talked and he came with me. He has a new pack of good things to eat, and oh, Mother, he's different from those men who were here. He'll help us." "Madam, I'll be happy to do anything I can for you and your little girl," said Adam in his deep, kindly tones. "Sir, your voice startled me," replied the woman with a gasp. "But it's a voice I trust. The looks of men in this hard country deceive me sometimes, but never their voices. Sir, if you will help us in our extremity, you will have the gratitude of a dying woman, of a mother." The darkness was intense inside the hut, and Adam, leaning at the door, could see nothing. The girl touched his arm timidly, almost appealingly, as Adam hesitated over his reply. "You can trust me," he said presently. "My name is Wansfell. I'm just a desert wanderer. If I may, I'll stay here and look after your little girl till her uncle comes." "At last, God has answered my prayer," exclaimed the woman pantingly. Adam unpacked his burros a half-dozen rods from the hut, under a spreading cottonwood and near the junction of two little streams of water that flowed down out of the gloom, one on each side of the great corner of mountain. And Adam's big hands made short shift of camp tasks that night. The hut appeared to be substantial and well made, with upright poles and thatch covered by a thatched roof of palm leaves. The girl came out and watched him, and Adam had never seen hungrier eyes even in an Indian. "It'll be fun to watch you. You're so quick. If I wasn't starved," said Jeannie. What a slender, almost flat slip of a girl. Her dress was in tatters, showing bare brown flesh in places. The pinched little face further stirred Adam's pity, and there waved over him a strange pride in his immense strength, his wonderful hands, his desert knowledge that now could be put to the greatest good ever offered him in this wandering land. "Jeannie, when you're starved, you must eat very slowly and only a little." "I know. I've known all about people starving and thirsting, but I'm not that badly off. I've had a little to eat." "Honest Injun?" he queried. She had never heard that expression, so he changed it to another of like meaning. "I wouldn't lie," she replied with direct simplicity that indeed reminded Adam of an Indian. Never had Adam prepared so good a camp dinner in such short a time, and then, hungry as Jeannie was, she insisted that her mother should be served first. She took a lighted candle Adam gave her and led the way into the hut while he followed, carrying food and drink that he believed best for a woman so weak and starved. The hut had 2 rooms, the first being a kitchen with stone floor and well furnished with camp utensils. The second room contained 2 rude cots made of poles and palm leaves, upon one of which Adam saw a pale shadow of a woman whose eyes verified the tragic words she had spoken. Despite the way Adam stooped as he entered, his lofty head brushed the palm-leafed roof. Jeannie laughed when he bumped against a crossbeam. "Mother, he's the tallest man," exclaimed the girl. "He could never live in our hut. Now sit up, Mother dear. Doesn't it all smell good? Ooh, the Indian fairy has come." "Jeannie, will you hold the candle so I can see the face of this kind man?" asked the woman when she had been propped up in bed. The girl complied with another little laugh. Adam had not before been subjected to a scrutiny like the one he received now. It seemed to come from beyond this place and time. "Sir, you are a man such as I have never seen," she said at length. Plain it was to Adam that the sincerity or whatever she saw in him meant more to her than the precious food of which she stood in such dire need. Her hair was straggly and gray, her brow lined by pain and care. Her burning eyes were sunk deep in dark hollows, and the rest of her features seemed mere pale shadows. "I'm glad for your confidence," he said, "but never mind me. Try to eat some now." "Mother, there's plenty," added Jeannie with soft eagerness. "You can't fib to me about this. Oh, smell that soup. And there's rice, clean white rice with sugar and milk." "Child, if there's plenty, go and eat." "Thank you, sir. I can help myself." Adam followed Jeannie out, and presently the look of her as she sat on the sand in ravenous bewilderment of what to eat first brought back poignantly to him the starvation days of his earlier experience. How blessed to appreciate food! Indeed, Jeannie would have made a little glutton of herself had not Adam wisely obviated that danger for her. Later, when she and her mother were asleep, he strolled under the cottonwoods along the murmuring stream where the bright stars shone, reflected in the dark water. The place had the fragrance of spring, of fresh snow water, of green growths and blossoming flowers. Frogs were trilling from the gloom, a sweet melodious music seldom heard by Adam. A faint soft night breeze rustled in the palm leaves, and the ragged mountainside rose precipitously, a slanted mass of huge rocks, their shining surfaces alternating with the dark blank spaces. Above spread the sky, a wonderful deep blue velvety, intense, from which blazed magnificent white stars in countless trains and groups of smaller stars. Rest and thought came to him then. Destiny had dealt him many parts to play on the desert, so many violent, harsh, and bitter tasks. But this was to be different. Not upon evil days had he fallen, nor had his wandering steps here taken hold of hell. The fragrance under the shadow of this looming mountain was the fragrance of an oasis, and in that silent shadow slept a child who would soon be an orphan. And Adam had his chance to live a while in one of the desert's fruitful and blossoming spots. Only a desert man could appreciate the rest, the ease and the joy, the contrast of that opportunity. He could befriend an unfortunate child, but as refreshing and splendid as were these things, they were as naught compared to the blessing that would be breathed upon his head by a dying mother. Adam, lifting up his face to the starlight, felt that all his intense and passionate soul could only faintly divine what the agony of that mother had been, what now would be her relief. She knew her prayer had been answered, and Adam pondered and pondered over the meaning of her prayer and the significance of his wandering steps. He seemed to feel the low beat of a mighty heart, the encompassing embrace of a mighty and invisible spirit. End of chapter 22.